Warning.
Watch very closely now. 3, 2, 1. Bzow! Check that out.
The following podcast features terrible jokes.
You know you can use Hot Wheels cars when you need to make a saving throw in D&D? Every car is die-cast.
Usually about board games.
We want the fun. Gotta have that fun.
Must insist that no one attempt to recreate any joke performed on this podcast.
We had less technical issues than $1 million company.
All right!
This is Boards and Swords.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Boards and Swords. This is a podcast featuring bad jokes, good folks, and some tabletop games. I'm one of your hosts. My name's Chris Renshaw. I'm going to throw it over here. We've got my partner in crime, Mr. Philip Herbig. How are you doing today?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show and all the shenanigans that are going to happen.
It felt kind of weird yesterday when we were having dinner at Wendy's. It felt like a pre-production meeting.
We didn't have any notepads or anything. We should
Fair.
play
But
the part if we're going to do that.
joining us this week, we have Wolfgang from Kobold Press.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So for anyone that may have not heard of Kobold Press, what can you tell us about it?
Oh, sure. My name's Wolfgang Baur. I'm the founder at Kobold Press. We've been around 19 years now, which still seems unreal to me, but we're a small tabletop RPG company that has worked with other small tabletop RPG companies. We did some work for Wizards of the Coast. We published our own system. We do Dungeons and Dragons and other things. And 19 years has gone by in a blip. I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, they even do like generic specific stuff. I just happen to have.
Yeah. Oh, the complete Kobold Guide to Game Design is generic. We've got one on world building.
Yeah, I need to get that one.
What? No, we got 2 volumes of world building. That's like one of the most popular ones.
Oh yeah, no, I have a list of books. I have a separate book wish list on Amazon that it's just kind of like when I need something to fill my cart, I just kind of like swipe over and add it.
Grab one of those.
Yeah.
I have that kind of list, the save list.
So
There's a budget for that.
yeah, exactly. And of course, Rusted Beetle's already in the chat room advertising that Kobold Press has a Halloween sale going on right now.
It's true. We're like knocking 20% off just for showing up. On
Nice.
Everything. Print, PDF, 20, I don't know, everything.
Well, we're going to talk some more about Kobold Press in a minute, but first we have some news.
News!
All right. Hey, Philip.
Hey, Chris.
I tried to play a board game the other day, but when I opened the box, a bunch of ghosts came out. And then there was this eerie voice that said, there is no game, there is only Azul. So, as I get my screen share, there we go. So, apparently we're going to have Azul Duel. Say that 5 times fast. 2-player only version of Michael Kiesling's Azul. And so it invites you to play with light and pit opposite sides against each other. So if you're not familiar with Azul, it was a very popular, started off as the theming was like you were a Spanish designing a tile landscape. I forgot what it's called.
Tiling the bathroom
yeah.
for somebody big.
Yeah, basically. And then they did other versions, and there was like I wanted to get the chocolatier one, but I would like sub it in with like actual chocolates.
Actual font size Snickers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So very popular game. It's won a whole bunch of awards.
It's great.
The game lasts a number of rounds, and each round players take turn drafting tokens from the central area and placing them on their individual board. When you complete a row of tokens at the end of the round, you get those tokens onto a grid. However, in Azul Duel, the grid on the right-hand side of your board is empty at the start of play. In addition to drafting tokens from a central display, you draft ceiling tiles, which means you get to determine the arrangement of tokens within your grid, sort of. These ceiling tiles are randomly revealed, of course, and your opponent might take a tile that would be perfect for the tokens that you've already drafted. Okay. So before it was like you were trying to get tokens to match a pattern. Now you're trying to get those tokens and create the pattern ahead of time.
They've made it harder.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's I saw Azul. I saw it was like 2-player version of Azul. I was like, the existing game worked fine in 2 players. Like, I don't know why we needed a separate version, but apparently it's going to debut February 21st at the FIJ Game Fair in Cannes, France. So yeah, Azul Duel. If you're a really big Azul fan and you have like every version of Azul, then there you go. Phil, did you ever play Azul? I know Colin would like try and get people to play Azul all the time.
Doesn't sound familiar.
Okay. I think I still have it. I don't know. I think it
Got
went
it on the shelf, but we haven't pulled it down in a little while, so maybe this will give us an excuse.
I feel like this is one of those games that I'm kind of surprised hasn't been an app yet, because I feel like this game would be perfect as an app. It's Azul off. All right. I don't know if you know this, but there was an announcement from a company talking about offering vacation trips to Mars in the next few years, but I think they should really plan it out more.
Oh, you hurt me.
Yep, that's the point. This is weird for me. I'll explain in a second. But Metago heads back to Mission Red Planet. New edition, Mission Red Planet from Bruno Feduti and Bruno Cathala's sci-fi board game, which hit retail in 2025. Mission Red Planet was originally released in 2005 by Asmodee. The game had last seen a new edition in 2015 via Fantasy Flight Games, which is why I'm a little conflicted, because it's like I've now been in games long enough where it's like games have come out, gone away, and then come back again, and I remember that, and I was there for that whole time span. Because I remember like Mission Red Planet, I think I got at that first Gen Con we went to.
Okay.
Because that's when it came out. Was that Gen Con 2015, and it was I had heard about it. I think it was a surprise thing as well, or like it was leaked a little bit beforehand or something. Because like I had played the 2005 edition like a month or two beforehand, and then when I heard this was coming out, I was like, oh, I have to go there. I'm going there immediately. This was back when the press got in an hour early at Gen Con, so I was like beelining for the FFG booth to get this and probably something else, X-Wing or something. But the upcoming...
It was 2015, it was X-Wing.
Yeah.
100% X-Wing.
Yeah. The upcoming Matago version features new illustrations. I do like the artwork on here. It's a modular board, new miniatures, and replaces the steampunk motif with a more modern space age fantasy look. I mean, I guess we're out of steampunk now.
Yeah, I think it's more Fallout-y, maybe. Or
it does
retro
have that
future.
kind of fall. Yeah, I see that.
A little bit.
The like 50s version of what the future would be like.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I'll buy it, but it was just a weird story that popped up in my feed, and I was like, wait a minute. What Ryan Jackson's in the chat saying, hi, Wolfgang.
Hello, Ryan.
Did we run out of gears? Yeah, that's why we switched away. That's why we switched away from steampunk. We ran out of gears. All right. I was digging in the backyard and found a whole vein of precious stones buried deep in the ground. My neighbor tried to claim it, but I told him it was a mine. So I had to throw this. What?
I'm just groaning.
Oh, I thought Philip was about to say something.
No, I'm over here watching Wolfgang's sanity meter from the Cthulhu system. It's just going down,
Melting.
man. Yeah.
So as much as I've been into Necromunda recently, I had to put this story in here. So the link I've got in the show notes combines. There's actually been like 3 different announcements of different Ironhead Squat news pieces. So this kind of collects them all. But I just want to show them off because, like, okay, so here's the normal. For those that aren't familiar with squats, these are basically space dwarves, and they're just a bunch of miners on Necromunda. And they've been around for a while, but they finally are like refreshing the line a little bit. So they've now come out with these like new exosuit, cool looking squat guys where they have their whole like mining setup, because they needed more things to look like what's that mining Deep Rock Galactic.
Deep Rock Galactic, yes.
But
Nice.
the coolest thing by far, like, they got the champion with the mining laser. The coolest thing by far, though, is the bikes. Apparently, the squats were famous for having the trikes. And, like, they came out with these new bikes because they've got vehicles in the Ash or in Necromunda now. And the squats had just, like, one big vehicle that cost, like, $200 on Forge World. So it's like, forget that. But then they came out, there's these new squat trikes. They just look so cool. Oh yeah, here's the big Mamma Jamma like $200 vehicle thing there with this little cyborg.
It's the mining base.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I'm totally need to get a set of these trikes to roll around for. So that was it. There's nothing. Necromunda Ashways. There's a bunch of links in there. I just wanted to go giddy over the squat trikes. That was the only reason that was in there.
So where am I? I'm on the squat bikes 80/20.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Squat in exo armor with bolter and lance on trike. Because it's in that weird sort of black and white.
Yeah.
It looks like a squat dreadnought on wheels.
It does. I just kind of scroll. I didn't even take a chance to really look at. This is like what they used to be, back in like the old version of Necromunda in I think they call it in 95, because it came out.
Like, I'm kind of
1995.
that one spot in between the wheels that looks a little brighter. That might be a foot.
Yeah.
But no, it looks like a dreadnought with wheels.
Yeah, it does. And then look at these guns where they're like bigger than the mini.
Oh yeah.
That's a trend, though. I mean, you see that in the sci-fi games with bigger guns are better, but you see it in the fantasy games too, right? With swords that are taller than you are, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the lumber beam of 2x4. What's this? It's a rapier.
This guy this warlord looks like he has a super soaker. It looks like the original, was it Laramie the original super soaker?
Oh yes.
Close them down.
Oh, here you go. Here's your exo armor thing that you were talking. So that probably was a foot based on
that design right there. Yeah, like that was a foot.
Oh, so this, by the way, this exo armor is supposed to be that. This is the new version.
Yeah.
Because that's what this is called. It's the exo armor. Looks like they were inspired by the Wheelers from Return to Oz. I never saw Return to Oz. All right. Okay. One more Games Workshop story. Sorry. Apparently there's a Broadway show coming soon about the pandemic, although early reviews said it's a real plague. Games Workshop avails Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team starter set. So they had the big, huge introductory box that's like $220 some odd dollars. Comes with a whole bunch of terrain. It came with the what did it come with? It came with some guard and some Vespids. But now they've got the official starter set, which is like a little bit of a cheaper option. But it's really interesting because, actually, let me see if I can get the gallery. Nope, that just opened the single picture. So, in a turn from how they normally operate, this is like the first one that comes with MDF terrain instead of its usual like plastic put together terrain that you usually have to do. So they used to
Mhm.
apparently they used to do this way probably like back in the early 2000s and the 90s. But it's been like 20 years apparently, and they've kind of gone back to the the MDF terrain for this starter set. My guess is probably to keep the cost down, but it was a very, very interesting announcement when it first came out. And in fact, I think the price I want to say I saw at our local store was like $100. It was like $100 and some change or something like that.
Okay, so half the price of.
Yeah. But you
Huh.
get like a starter
Terrible.
handbook, and then it comes with Space Marines and Plague Marines. So you get 2 kill teams right out of the box, and for anyone that's followed Games Workshop stuff, they put out these. They're like booster boxes of Space Marines. They call them like Space Marine Heroes or Warhammer Heroes, and they do different sets. Like one time it was Blood Angels, and then one time it was Plague Marines, and then one time it was the regular Ultramarines. And this box set is actually combining a lot of those two that were kind of hard to get, because a lot of people would like buy them out immediately whenever they got launched, and so this set is actually bringing together those two for the first time in a while, and they're actually push fit. $112 MSRP looks like from Rusted Beetle in the chat.
Okay, that picture on the handbook, is that just armor design, or does his belly actually have teeth?
Probably has teeth. Yeah. No, his belly, because these are demon, and they're Chaos Space Marines that have been mutated by thousands of years in the warp. So yeah,
Okay, oh, so his armor will eat you.
yeah. Because these Plague Marines are the ones that worshipped the god Nurgle, the god of disease
Nurgle.
and decay. Yeah, you can kind of see it here on this guy's belly some too. But like, yeah, if you see the right people, you can get some really nasty looking Plague Marines in the right like painter's hands. Got the little
Use that,
nurgling on the bottom.
use that snot stuff you've got.
Oh yeah, totally. The dirty down snot.
Yeah.
Is that an official paint color, dirty down snot?
It's like a plasticky material that like it's for doing snot effects that like you pull it out and like touch it to different areas and it makes that kind of stretchy.
it's slime for miniatures.
Yeah,
It's-
exactly. Like I used it and then color and painted it to make like goop for like things coming out of the sewer.
I mean, not that I have a huge call for oozes in my D&D games, but once in a while there's something snotty and gelatinous. So
Right.
yeah.
The minis are from their
Cool.
blind box set. Some people are annoyed as they spent money on eBay trying to collect the minis only for them to come out in this set. Yeah, well, that's what you get. Expect a lot of the MDF terrain selling on eBay. Well, that's probably good.
Mm.
So if you want just the terrain, keep an eye out on eBay.
Yeah, pick it up secondhand, cheap.
Yeah. Last story. I'm exhausted from installing a bunch of ceiling fans over the weekend, but there's still so many to go. I'm daydreaming of when it will end. A final fantasy of sorts. So, of course, I had to talk.
was waiting to figure out where you were going with that.
That's usually the part. Like, I could sometimes see Philip's expression where he's like, where is this going? But Wizards released information on what we're going to see for Magic the Gathering in 2025. So a bunch of sets coming out. First up is Innistrad Remastered, which I recognize. That was like right before I started playing Magic again, like the second or third time. Then the first standard legal set will be Aether Drift, that features Chandra Nalaar racing through the Omen Paths and across 3 planes of the multiverse. Then we have our first Universes Beyond set, which is Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy, which is weird because there's a Final Fantasy TCG also.
Yeah.
I think there was a Middle Earth TCG. I don't know.
Well,
These
like
sets are
currently
gone
being
everywhere.
produced though. Like there's been like
Yeah.
a bunch of Middle Earth TCGs over the years. This is going to feature Cloud, Terra, Lightning, and Noctis, summons, rivals, and monsters from all across the Final Fantasy games. Then you get another flashback set, Tarkir Dragonstorm, Edge of Eternities, which is a science fiction set in which magic goes beyond the known multiverse. So I'm actually that one sounds kind of cool, actually. And then we get another Universes Beyond. We get our first Marvel full set. Marvel Spider-Man will arrive in late 2025. And the weird thing they announced is this set is actually going to be standard legal. So normally the Universes Beyond stuff is like, here you go, make some decks with it, have fun. Here's some Commander stuff. But like they usually don't mix into the standard sets. But the Spider-Man set is going to be standard legal. And then there's going to be one additional Universes Beyond set that was flagged like end of the year 2025, but they didn't announce what it was.
Too far off, cannot predict.
Yeah. So recently they did the Marvel Secret Lair, which is like a handful of cards that are themed around Marvel, but also involve current Magic cards. This is the Magic the Gathering Spider-Man will be a full set featuring all new cards and things. Good thing GW doesn't make Wizards roadmap. It would just say cards. What he's referring to. So at the Nova Open reveal, they had for one of their games, it was like Horus Heresy. It just said coming soon in 2025. Tanks. Like that was it for their announcement for the next year worth of stuff was just tanks. Like, gee,
Wow.
thanks. Like we couldn't have figured that out. All right, and that's the news. So I will say, I mean, I don't just so getting back to Kobold Press. I don't know if this is an apt or terrible association, but kind of like when I sat down and thought about Kobold Press, it kind of reminded me of the journey that Paizo took in like 3.5, where Paizo started off as like, oh, we make D&D 3.5 stuff, and then Wizards kind of jumped to 4th, and they're like, well, we like this sandbox that we're playing in. We're going to make our own game, and then so Pathfinder was born.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, I kind of watched it happen. I remember visiting the Paizo offices when it was the Dragon Magazine offices, and it was like 3 guys and a coffee maker, right? And then now they're this big company with Pathfinder. Kobold Press is sort of similar. I mean, we started later, and we have been doing 5th edition D&D products, both official ones and unofficial ones, for many years. I think what people know us for at this point is the Tome of Beasts monster books.
Yep.
Yeah, one of which went on to D&D Beyond back in the spring. So that's always been our bread and butter, but we decided, if they can do Pathfinder, we can do Tales of the Valiant. So we put that together in the last year, and it came out this summer, and I'm really happy with it. Yeah, it looks good. It plays beautifully. There are 3 core books out now, right? There's a Player's Guide, there's a Monster Vault, and the Game Master Guide just shipped. And we've taken a little bit of a different approach, right? Like the Game Master Guide, we show you the math behind encounter building and item creation and other things that if you want to homebrew, you don't have to guess, right? It's the same in the Player's Guide. There's pricing on every magic item. You don't have to guess what it costs to get a magic item. It's right there. So in a lot of ways, that was just pure reaction for Tales of the Valiant. Kobold Press listens to the community a lot. We have an active Discord. We have an active blog, and we go out and run, hundreds of tables of games at Gen Con every year. So when people want a thing, it sort of comes to the editor's attention, and eventually it turns into something we can say, here it is. A better monster book, a new core system, some cool adventures. So yeah, I'll talk about any and all of those, but we've done 5e D&D support since the earliest days. And Tales of the Valiant in its bones is a fork of 5th edition D&D, right? It is just like Pathfinder's a fork of 3.5, Tales of the Valiant is a fork of 5e.
But I feel like we're now in this unique position where, unlike with Paizo, where Wizards went, completely new edition. We've got the 2024. It's like, okay, you were playing 5th edition. Now, which version of 5th edition do you want to play? Like, oh, you can keep to all the books that you've already got and just strictly buy the book of how you've been playing. Or it's like, if you want to do something a little bit different, you can do the new updated 2024 rule book. Or I feel like the differences between the original rule book and the 2024 are like the same differences between like Tales of the Valiant and the original 5th edition rules.
Probably similar, although we kept some things that I think were important to people. We kept the power curve that we put in with Beasts, which was a slightly higher monster power curve, for instance. We did different things to the ranger or the monk or the paladin, right? But
everyone always complains about the ranger.
My God, the Tales of the Valiant Ranger is one of the standout nice pieces of it, right? Stuff that should have been class abilities from the start got rolled into the base class. Now, mind you, I wasn't a designer on it. I was the publisher, but I've seen enough of it to say, and my wife plays the Ranger, so I was paying attention. But I've seen enough to say, yeah, this is totally playable. And the nice thing about Tales of the Valiant is the power curve is such that not just the monsters are on the standard power curve, so are the characters. You can take your Tales of the Valiant Ranger and play him right next to your 2014 Wizard or your 2024 Rogue, right? There's no weird, like, you need to, I don't know, put some shims in and pull them together with glue and baling wire. No, they'll play the same at the table, which is kind of a blast. There's even a VTT platform that lets you switch or run 2 different rule sets at the same time. It's Shard Tabletop. If you want to run your 5th edition characters and your Tales of the Valiant characters on the same VTT, Shard is your platform. It'll do it.
That's funny. I just suddenly have visions of Philip. I don't know if you remember the Halo Anniversary Edition that they came out with, where you could click the button and it would go from like present day graphics to the original graphics.
Yes.
Oh wow.
That's just what I just had that in my head.
Yes. I mean, I played a lot of Halo back when, so
I
don't
will
want to think about those graphics look like now.
Yeah. I will say one of the there's a lot of like you said, there's a lot of, I mean, fundamentally the core system is still the same, but
Yes.
one of the things that I was trying to flip to it. Oh, here we go. One of the things that I did like the most, because it was one of those things that made the most sense to me, if I can get my camera to show up here, was the sources of magic. If I can.
Oh yes.
See, nope, I can't get the camera to adjust.
It doesn't want to focus.
No. Oh well.
That's me without my glasses right there.
Yeah, pretty much. So, Philip, have you ever played a spellcaster?
Played a warlock.
Right, that's right. I forgot. That was your first character. So you know how like there's the warlock spells or whatever, and a lot of those spells will overlap with other classes and stuff. The way they do it in Tales of the Valiant is they have different sources of magic. So you've got like divine, primordial, arcane, and then weird, and
Weird with a Y.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because it's weird. And so like a cleric casts spells from the divine source. So you don't have to repeat saying like, this is the cleric list, and some of these spells are also in the paladin list. So it's like, no, just the cleric and paladin both have divine magic. So as long as your spell's in the divine list, you're fine.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that just makes so much more sense.
Yeah, we love that change and we playtest the heck out of it. The other one in spellcasting that I think is really great is moving rituals into a separate column, sort of. Casters can choose all their regular spells the way they always would, but they don't have to make a choice between, do I want to put a ritual spell in,
Oh, yeah.
because you just get, depending on your level, a couple of them, right? It's just like cantrips. You get some cantrips, well, you also get some rituals. And so they're there if you need them, but they're not taking away from some, combat spell, which is a really nice change in play. I see people doing ritual magic, or before they might have said, I didn't bring that.
And then another one of the big things I saw is so again, Philip, you're familiar with the D&D player's handbook, right? Whenever you level up, you go to that chart that shows you, okay, like now I have this many, like for barbarian, it'd be like rages, my proficiency bonus, maybe it went up or whatever. So in that chart in Tales of the Valiant, there's something every level. So you know how like in D&D sometimes you'll have like a gap, like, oh, I'm level 7, I don't really get anything.
Yeah, and
but
it's
level
it's
8
blank and
is
like
when I
only
get
your proficiency bonus changed. Yeah.
yeah.
That sucks. Nobody likes that. It's one of the things we really aimed at fixing, and the lead designer Celeste Konowich was like focused on every level gives you something, not just hit points. So you're always looking forward to next level, and everybody gets to be happy when they level, right? Like, nobody's sitting around saying, I got nothing. I got a rock.
But yet at the same time, a lot of these features, if you're familiar enough with D&D, like I said, you're not learning a whole new game here.
Oh goodness, no. We didn't want that to happen. And honestly, the conversion sheet is about 2 pages, maybe page and a half, right? Like, and it's a free download. So's the character sheet. Hell, so's the reference document, right? Like most of it's free. So it's easy to come by and easy to try out. And if you generate a character with Tales of the Valiant and put them in a campaign, you're going to be like, oh, I thought this was different, but it's just a little faster in some ways. The stuff that's different is stuff like luck points, right?
Oh yes, I
Replaced inspiration.
forgot about that.
Yeah, so I found in play that inspiration doesn't actually get spent much.
Yep.
And it's a pain. Like, you haul it out when you're desperate, but it never really. It doesn't sort of smoothly integrate with gameplay, and luck points do from Tales of the Valiant, because every time you fail at something, you can get a luck point, and you can spend a few luck points to improve a roll later. So players are forced to track it, right? It's not a burden on the game master. Players are like greedy little point mongers. You know this, right? Like every gold piece, every experience piece, whatever, and every luck point. And so you can only have up to 5 luck points. If you go over, you go bust, and they'll go back to the bank. But you can spend those on improving a roll that you've blown. So it's a fail forward system, basically. And the first time I heard it, I'm like, that's so complicated. I'm never going to do that. Oh, you're messing with my... And then I was like, oh, actually, it's not that complicated. It only happens when somebody's failed at something and they're like, oh, okay, silver lining. I'll give myself this luck point to spend later. It doesn't slow down play at all. So we've had fun with that one. There's a couple other changes. The number of reactions that monsters get has gone up a little bit. Made some balancing changes. Oh my goodness, the encounter system. There's a beautiful free tool for Tales of the Valiant called the Kobold Press Encounter Builder. You don't have to pay a subscription. You just go out to the Kobold Press website and type in Encounter Builder, and it will build rando encounters, or it will choose certain books. Like, okay, I only want this source and Tome of Beasts and something else over here. And so if you've got random encounters, or if you're just short of inspiration before your Friday night game, that Tales of the Valiant Encounter Builder. Of course, it also works for 5e titles. Tome of Beasts is 5e monsters, but we're already building out tools like that, and the game's been out like I want to say 5 months now,
Right.
and there's 30 adventures in print for it, and an encounter builder that's free, and it's doing real well for 5 months out.
Right.
Right? Like, we're not getting a 5th edition 2024 monster manual till next year. And this stuff's here now. So we're pretty happy with that. The number of adventures, the number of options.
Yeah, and Ryan says, are there plans to update the older books to Tales of the Valiant?
Well, they're compatible. So if they're 5th edition books and you play them with your Tales of the Valiant characters, they're gonna work.
Yeah, I feel like that was probably one of the design notes. Is like, this needs to. We don't want to make all of our books obsolete.
Didn't want to make anybody's investment in their books obsolete, right? Like, those are still playable with Tales of the Valiant. At some point, they'll go out of print, right? Like, we'll have sold the last copy of Creature Codex or Scarlet Citadel or Deep Magic, and we'll say, okay, do we want to do the work to update it? We'll look at it and say, okay, that's 2 days work, but then we got to relay out, right? Like, it's not worth doing until we run out of the current print runs.
And even then, it's one of those like, okay, yeah, it says like the Creature Codex updated monsters, but it sounds like you were talking about the power curve of your books was already in line with what you planned for.
Like the 2014 power curve. When we put out Tome of Beasts in 2015, we said the 2014 power curve is too weak. We don't think it's just because we've got a bunch of hardcore players. We think these monsters are all underpowered, and it would be more fun if they were a little more challenging. So over the years since 2015 and that first Tome of Beasts, fans have kind of told us time after time, I haul out the regular monster book. Okay, fine. I haul out the Tome of Beasts. The players are like, oh, crap, this is going to be a little harder. So it's always been about one level higher in CR. And that's the curve we kept in Tales of the Valiant, right? So the characters get a little bit of a power-up, but mostly the monsters have always been tougher from Kobold Press, and we're kind of proud of that. They're nasty.
So it's really more of like all the books before or just have led up to this, not necessarily that this is spun out.
Yeah, like, given the amount of playtest we do, all those early books, yeah, we don't want to throw them away. I mean, honestly, right? Like, I've got them all here. I've got them in pocket editions, right? Like, I've got, like, literally all of them.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize Tales of the Valiant was available in pocket editions, too.
It is. Oh, here's the Monster Vault. So, if you're kind of on the fence, right? Yeah, I use them all the time because they're just easier to haul off the shelf. Or down to the dining room table. But I've got all the same information.
Well, I feel like there's like an age range where it's appropriate because you start getting too old, and then it's like, I need a better prescription to be able to read that.
Right, I'm gonna need reading glasses if I buy the pocket edition. That's true. The hardcovers are printed slightly larger. I wouldn't call them large print by any means, but the pocket editions, you got to squint a little.
It's like when I want portable, I usually just go for PDF.
Yes, that is always the best way. And our PDFs, I mean, we do PDFs for one thing. Not everybody does.
Oh, you do a lot of PDFs. I was just looking. I had the page up here with all the. You were talking about the 30 different adventures that you've got out. Yeah, Philip, just keep.
They're not even all from us, right? They're
right.
Third-party publishers doing stuff. But yes.
Yeah, keep in mind this game came out like you said 5 months ago, and we got like all these different. This is everything Tales of the Valiant, but all of these different adventures out. Souls-like role playing.
That's page 1 of
That's really
one
cool.
Of 4. Yeah, we've got a Souls-like PDF, and we got that lineages thing too. There's just some options to layer on if you like the sort of Souls-like genre. I think we've got an isekai one too.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, and I think we got a couple other of that type where it's like, well, it's a
Oh, there you go.
style or a
Isekai.
genre. Oh, yeah, isekai. There you go. That's the title. And there you can see we've got Foundry support.
Yeah, that was
we've
another
got-
thing I noticed is Kobold is big on the virtual tabletop support of like,
Yes.
it's like, what do you like to use? We've got stuff for it.
We really have the best partners in all these companies from Foundry and Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds. Shard, like I was saying, they are so technically sharp. It is wonderful. Alchemy. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. Yes, all those sorts of platforms.
Yep. And then
are there.
Castles and Crown. Is this what was the most? There
This
was a
just
new.
came out.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I
so
thought.
Castles and Crowns just came out at Gen Con. I think we released it. And it is exactly what it sounds like, a toolkit for noble and kingdom level adventuring. NPCs and monsters for nobles, aristocrats, kingdoms. There's a map folio that goes with it. Sort of Castles and Crowns map folio is like castles under siege, hunting lodges, vineyards, tournament grounds for knightly combat. So all those things. And then the first couple of adventures there, Caverns of the Spore Lord, Mossbeard Mill, and I see the Labyrinth.
Yeah, I was gonna ask because Ryan says in the chat, he said, "Love the Labyrinth." That's kind of the name for the multiverse, isn't it? In Tales for the Valiant.
Very much the multiverse. Yeah. So the Tales of the Valiant multiverse is called the Labyrinth. It's the space between worlds. We just did a big Kickstarter on it, and there's still some late pledges available for about another week, maybe, maybe two. And the idea is, your homebrew world is one of many worlds, and you can go from there to any other place in the Labyrinth you want, right? You don't have to adopt the Kobold Press house setting, which is Midgard. Oh, there it is. There's the logo. Oh, there she is. Kelbeleth, greatest of the Void Angels. The Labyrinth is threatened by the Void. Creatures of darkness do come out, crawl through the passages, go to eat another world. The nice thing about the Labyrinth is because it's a multiversal setting, it's a bit like, I don't know, Stargate or something, where you can save a world every week if you like, or you can just visit, the 5 or 10 most important worlds and hop between them. There's a free preview for the Labyrinth, a preview PDF. I think it's on Drive-Thru and on the Kobold Press store, so if you want to check out.
Yeah, I saw
what
there's
that's
the
about.
guide to the Labyrinth. Is that what you're talking about? Or?
Yeah. No, that's not the free preview. The guide to the Labyrinth is actually like a 70-page PDF. It's kind of huge, describing the setting. But somewhere on the Kickstarter campaign, there ought to be a link.
Kickstarter does late backs now?
They do.
I did not know that.
This is the first time we've ever used it. It showed up as we were planning it, and we're like, well, what is this? How's this going to work? And we can't put limited editions on there for reasons having to do with our print schedule. But yes, you can do late backs until it closes. Yeah, there it is. Was that the free PDF?
It was, but my computer, while I'm streaming, doesn't like to load fast. So it was here somewhere and then disappeared.
It is. You can also just search Labyrinth Preview on either the Kobold Press site or Drive-Thru.
There it is.
There it is. It's a nice little PDF with sense of what's in it, the table of contents for the whole. There's a world book, and then there's a linked campaign where you can play whichever portions you want. And Beetle and Grimm did a beautiful set of additional materials. Yeah, the GM Vault.
That is pretty.
Handouts. You're right. I don't even think it lists everything. They put a magic item deck in there. They put all kinds of stuff. A GM screen. And then the limited editions. Yeah, we do those every time. Look forward to seeing how those turn out. But
yeah, you got. I saw Philip's eyebrow perked up. You mentioned Stargate, and
yes, Well, it is sort of story-wise, it's similar, right? Like if you're a big Stargate fan, and I don't know, I saw the movie recently just because I was like, well, how did they do it back in 1999 or whenever that was? Um, and yeah, the portals kind of connect totally different worlds, totally different cultures, and you can hop around from place to place. Um, and it kind of frees you to do world building any way you want to do it, right? You can do some world building. You can say, this doesn't work. I'm gonna have to trash this world, push my character somewhere else in the multiverse because this part of it's collapsing, or a Stargate can suddenly not function, and suddenly that subgenre full of, I don't know, slime robots is no longer available because everybody got bored with it, right?
Or if you just want to hop genres, like, oh, Halloween's coming up, I want to run a horror game.
Ravenloft, right? I want to run, yeah, a horror game. It could be Raven, it could be Cthulhu, it could be anything. It's like I'm gonna put my Tales of the Valiant characters through Horror on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
See how that pans out. Um, and and then if they say, we're done with the lightning train, we're going to Eberron, sure, why not? It opens up a world of possibilities, and you can always go back to your home setting easily and quickly after you've done the Ravenloft or Cthulhu thing for Halloween.
So, and it's something I noticed on here, that on the page here where it says it provides something new talking about 5e tabletop. So even if you're not into Tales of the Valiant for, I don't want to buy another set of rules, but
You
still,
don't have to. This
you're
setting
still
works.
putting out
It's
5e stuff.
compatible. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, when we say it's a 5e fork, we really mean it, right? Like, no, you can play this with the 5e resources you have. If you want to run Ravenloft or the Realms or Eberron with Tales of the Valiant, it's not work, right? It just plugs in. And the other way around, of course. So it's a fun way to sort of go out on our own, do things like luck, do things like an original ranger, see how people respond to it, do things like the encounter builder, frankly, and say, we're just going to do it for free because we think it's the right thing for the community. And so far, that has worked out.
I mean, it's not even, it's like when you say fork, I think of things venturing away from each other, but it's not even that. It's more just like parallel paths.
Well,
we went 5 miles east and then went the same direction again. So
Yeah.
I like the character sheet.
Oh, really?
I'm looking at that, and yeah, like you check out the character sheet. It's got armor. It's got your AC if you're holding a shield.
Oh,
it's got
yeah.
your AC if you don't have a shield. It's got 3 spots for speed, so you've got like walking, flying, running, or swimming.
Running,
You can put those in
yeah.
there. I mean,
And it's got the luck tracker on there.
the
Yeah,
luck tracker,
I thought
yeah.
the I was kind of surprised when I read about the luck, and it's like not that, okay, you're capped at 5, and it's just if you earn any more, you just don't get them. No, you're actually penalized for hitting that
For earning
fifth.
more.
Yeah.
No, you have to spend them. And it's funny how player psychology works, right? Like, I want as much of this as I can get, but I don't want to lose any of it.
Yep.
So you can see people going like, all right, I might have saved this if it was 1 point of inspiration, but I got 3 points of luck and 4 points of luck. I don't want to lose 4 points. I'm going to spend them on whatever my next roll is. And they get used to spending it. It's kind of reteaching players to spend resources instead of hoarding resources.
It's Destiny points in Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Because we'll sit there and look at them. And
Yeah.
It's like, I need to upgrade my roll. Yeah, we got 6 of those things. We're good. I'm gonna upgrade my roll.
It's time, yes.
But like he was saying though, that you can use multiple. So like, say we figured out that the AC of the monster is 16, and
Sure.
because it's like, oh, I rolled a 15, you miss. I rolled a 16, you hit. Okay, well clearly we need to roll a 16, and you
Mhm.
roll the dice and you get a 14. Well, you can spend 2 points of luck to make it a 16.
Sure, you can.
And now
you can
you've hit.
push. Yeah, and it's wonderful to do that way. To know that you're close enough that you can push and get it. I don't know. It's a pretty satisfying system, and it was important to me that it not slow down play. And Celeste really, and the whole playtest group, tens of thousands of playtesters, honed it down to it's not going to slow you down. It's on the character sheet correctly. It's easy to track. It's easy to explain. So we're not trying to make a more complicated game.
Yeah. Another question in the chat: are there plans for maybe a monster character sheet for monsters, especially
Ooh.
for those that don't use virtual tabletop? Because you were talking about in the DMG breaking down the math and making it so that making it easier to homebrew. But
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that kind of monster design rules could the homebrew rules and the Game Master Guide. It would have been smart if we had put together a monster character tracker for that. Now that you've mentioned it, I'm gonna have to write it down.
There you go.
And I'll take it to my Friday meeting with someone in the editing team, and they'll say either, yeah, we're already on it, or a great idea just after Halloween. But yeah, a monster character sheet is something we could do, and maybe something we should do. And those kinds of suggestions, you'd be surprised. They come in on Discord. They come in on, I don't know, convention games, and somebody rattles it around, and next thing you know, I'm staring at saying, that's a great idea. Why haven't we done that before?
Yeah, now
keep the
talking
good
about the
suggestions coming.
GMG is amazing, he says, and Castles and Crowns is his favorite. He's already used it for 2 sample kingdoms for one-shots.
Nice. Yeah, there's a couple of sample kingdoms. I wrote one. It's a kingdom in hell.
Oh.
There's a kingdom of dwarves. There's a kingdom of, I think, elves. There's a space kingdom of some kind. I didn't write that one. And then there's the Lesser Duchy of Glassmire, which I wrote because I was like, what if we had a hell that you could actually visit and survive? So it's got a map, and it's got people. It's got infernals of various kinds. It's a lawful evil kingdom that, if you are careful, won't kill you. The Lesser Duke of Glassmire, of course, he has an obsession with giant scorpions. He collects them, he breeds them, he sends them out on peasant hunts. It's a good time.
Oh, well, he used the Hell Kingdoms one of the sample ones he used.
Yay! All right, it got some table time. I mean, that's one thing at Kobold Press. We really don't want our monster books sitting on the shelf. We don't want our deep magic spell books sitting on your shelf. We want them hauled down now and again, and somebody say, what the heck was that? So table time for Castles and Crowns makes my heart happy. Yeah, it's only been out 2 months.
So Philip, I don't know if you remember this, but way back, it was a couple years. I want to say it was because this was pre-COVID. Do you remember when our GM
The before times?
Yeah, you remember when our GM Chris got that book of magic items that was a bunch of random magic items? It was it was custom stuff, and we were tweaking it and going apart. Because I remember there was one that was I'd be super powered if I had this item or whatnot. That was a Kobold Press book.
Okay.
Probably Vault of Magic.
Probably.
Could be. Although we've done several magic item books, but that's the most popular one because it's got a whole set of tables where you can roll a standard D&D item on that table, or you can roll a Vault of Magic item on that table. But your percentile rolls, you've got the reference either way.
Yep.
So making it easy, making it work with what you've already got.
And I love how on the store page, or excuse me, it wasn't the store page, it was in the about for Tales of the Valiant, where if you go down and click down to the black flag, which is the license for you want to make and sell your own stuff, and it's we will never tell you that you can't do that. Like I don't
You
know
could
where,
do
I don't
all
know
of
why you would need to say something like that.
It's just something good to put out there for people who might be nervous about it, right? Like we want it to be clear that this is a community project because frankly it was funded, all this work to get the art, to sort of fork it, to test it, play test it, get it into print, was all funded by, a big community-based Kickstarter. And so it doesn't seem fair um, to not share the results. And so we've got a number of partners. Steamforged Games is one. Um, Legendary Games has done some products with us.
Oh, that makes sense because Steamforge does all those creature or what are they? The encounter packs or whatever that they do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Ghostfire Games has done stuff for Tales of the Valiant. So, like, it's nice. It's nice to see that level of support more broadly. Yeah, there it is. So if you're a budding designer, by all means, do it. Try it out. You can publish it in PDF. You can go to print, whatever your heart desires as far as using the Black Flag engine to publish with. I'll bring it up. I'll toot my own horn. Like last Thursday or so, I put on the Kobold Press blog it's the publisher's column called State of Play, and the topic was how to break into professional game design. It wasn't really about self-publishing, but maybe I need to. Anyway, if you want some hints, go check it out. There's some advice on breaking in to publishing.
Nice. I might need to read that. I'm working on one of the goals I have for our Patreon is publishing a couple of adventures every now and then, because I get these random, especially like it started at Gen Con when I would see all the like third party RPG, third party 5e stuff, and I'm like, some of the random stuff like the what is it, GUI Cube that does the Adventures at GenzaCon series, and I was like, well, if they can do that, like I could do that with my crazy ideas.
Yes, and I think it's half of what the hobby's about, is right. Like this is why the whole labyrinth thing is meant to tie into everybody's own home campaign setting. It's like, because we know people are full of imagination. Not everything is playing an adventure off the shelf, and people share that stuff. And then what was a adventure for your friends turns into, well, I published it on the Patreon. And it turns into, well, we ran a little Kickstarter and we printed 600 copies.
Yeah. The adventure I'm currently writing up is because I was out biking one day and I had the thought of what if I turned Mambo number 5 into an adventure? Like all the different.
Okay, now I'm curious.
So it's like all the different girls are a different monster. So like I'm trying to I gotta pull. All right, I have to pull up. I have to
You
pull
have
up
notes.
I have notes. I do have notes. Because if I try and do it off the cuff, I will get the wrong girl name with the wrong one. So
Kobold Press has published a lot of designers' first work, and we're doing it again. The Game Master Guide came with 2 rewards, which was we're going to publish backer adventures. So we put up a contest for that, and we're doing the same thing now with the Open Design Challenge or the Discord Game Design Challenge, where we're taking monsters from Discord subscribers, and we're going to publish a couple of them.
Okay, so I won't do the whole thing, but I'll read a couple. So a little bit of Sandra and the Sun is a diva. So, or diva in D&D, diva is like an angel kind of sort of thing. A little bit of Mary All Night Long. Mary's a vampire. A little bit of Jessica, Here I Am. So Jessica's a shapeshifter. So there you go. That's all you get.
It's cool though. I mean, it's funny how inspiration hits you from stuff, and it's happened to me a couple of times that I've listened to a song, and it's made me think about, or I've watched a movie. But the songs are always the weird ones because, like, why? Unless it's Werewolves of London, it doesn't seem very D&D-ish necessarily, right?
But yeah, because I've just always had that notion because like people be like, oh, I don't know what to do for an encounter or something, and I'm like, well, you can make an encounter based on anything, like inspired by anything. Like I had somebody,
Yeah.
I wrote up a column because I had somebody wanted an encounter idea, and I off the cuff made a D&D adventure, not like details, but like the kind of like the intro paragraph kind of piece of like
Yeah, the
a-
inciting incident,
yeah,
the kick
but
it
like
off.
what
Yeah.
it was like, what if you turned the anime Gundam Wing into a D&D adventure? Like how would that go, kind of thing? And it was like you can get inspiration. Well, the other idea was like you can get inspiration from anything. So like
Oh, it's absolutely true. I mean, and then the hard part is turning it into something someone else can read and present to their players.
right.
Right?
That's yep.
Like your idea's in your brain, and the hard part's getting it out.
And this
That's
is
how
why
it
a lot of
goes.
board games have terrible rule books.
Yeah, that's a whole nother trouble spot. But yes, this is why I love YouTube how to play videos, right? Like, show me how to set this up. I don't want to read the bad instructions. Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like I have an opportunity here with you on the show that I have to bring something up because it was only as I was digging in and doing some more research before the show that I found this out.
Yeah.
So is it true that you wrote the Tyranny of Dragons storyline for 5th edition?
I will, I mean, sort of. We were given an outline, and my co-author on this was Steve Winner. So Steve and I wrote that, and if you look at Tyranny of Dragons, like on the first couple of pages up front, you'll see the Kobold Press logos in there. So yeah, but the Wizards of the Coast people, I think it was Chris Perkins, but it might have been Jeremy, had an outline of no, it's got to be Tiamat, it's got to be a dragon cult. You need to go here and here and here, and we wrote it. The part of the story that I don't know if people believe me or not. We wrote it before there was a monster manual, so we're like, okay, but 5th edition doesn't exist yet, and you're asking us to design this. And they're like, yeah, do all that. We'll plug in the final monster manual stats later. And we're like, yeah, but which monsters are in the monster? And Steve's got 10 more years in the industry than I did. He worked with Gary Gygax and people back in the day, and was the creative director of D&D for a while. And he knows it backwards and forwards, and I guess I do too. Because we said, okay, well, we'll just give you a list, and you let us know if there's any problems. Like, we need a tough fighter, and we need a green dragon, and we need some kobolds and dragonborn, and let us know if any of this is a problem. They liked it, so they published it. It's still in print. What a nice new double edition.
I've made it very well. People that have listened to the show before made it very well known. I have to apologize up front. Tyranny of Dragons is I hate that adventure. At least the first
Lots
book.
of people. I think there's good reasons to hate it because it was written before the system was there for it.
Right.
But we took the outline we were given. We absolutely did our best by it. A dragon cult is a big meaty topic, and Tiamat, great. There are people who love it and there are people who hate it, and I think you're both correct, because for some groups it's the wrong adventure, and for other groups it's just not their cup of tea, and for other groups it really, really is. So we've written other ones since. It's strange. Steve's Tomb of Annihilation is pretty great. I had a hand in Ghosts of Saltmarsh, although a lot of that was reprint.
Right.
Steve also did one by Kobold Press called Scarlet Citadel, which is just the most lovely dungeon crawl with all these layered maps. And anyway, and I wrote one called Empire of the Ghouls, which is an older one at this point. But man, if you love the scary undead, that's a thing. So yeah,
I had
doing them.
I had to ask you about that when I saw that in your bio, and I was like, this is funny, just because I was worried somebody pointed out. But for some reasons, Wizards
write a beginning adventure, I would have done it a little differently. But
Right.
I have to believe that Wizards of the Coast knew what they wanted, right? They wanted a Tiamat cult adventure. So we gave it to them.
Yeah, and the second book is light years better. The first one,
Huh?
yeah, you could tell like it was designed kind of in a vacuum.
Well, I mean, we assumed that there would be bugbears and goblins and whatever, right? And we were kind of right, but it was hard to lean into the 5e flavor at that point because we had no idea what the 5e flavor was going to be.
Right.
We were deeply steeped at that point, Steve and I, in 4th edition and in Pathfinder 1st edition. And I know it's hard to remember here, but Pathfinder 1e was the best-selling fantasy role-playing game for about 5 years. It beat D&D for about 5 years, and those were the 4th edition years.
Yeah.
So, Steve and I played a bunch of Pathfinder at that time, and we didn't know where they were going with 5e beyond the notes they gave us. And yeah, I don't know. We knew what a D&D adventure was supposed to feel like, and I like to think that we got that part right.
Yeah, it is funny. Like, especially, I remember those days, and I remember, like, it sounds crazy now. Like, if you told somebody, like, oh, back in the day, or like at one point in time, Pathfinder outsold D&D, they'd look at you like, "What, are you crazy?" But like,
Oh yeah, it wasn't even close, right? Like,
yeah, it
it
was.
was pretty clear.
But like
And then in
nowadays, with the
2015
popularity, like Critical Role and stuff like that, it's just so much more now that it would seem hard to believe.
Pathfinder audience hasn't gone away. It's just that the D&D audience has gotten bigger and bigger, right? It's not that there are necessarily less people playing Pathfinder. That crowd is still there and enthusiastic. It's just so many, well, Stranger Things, Critical Role, like you said. There's just a million ways, Dimension 20, that it's grown. I like to think that Kobold Press was in there making monster books and some other adventures and supporting 5e since before there was 5e. Really.
Yeah. Well, literally, as you were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason our Tome of Beasts thing appears on D&D Beyond, right? Like, it's kind of woven into the fabric of D&D at this point. Some of our adventure books are there, like Tales from the Shadows is there. And we're on all these VTT platforms with 5th edition and now Tales of the Valiant. So I always say it's an absolutely great time to play tabletop, right? You've got more choices, you've got more good products, they look better than ever. Go back to what the state of the art was 10 years ago, and yeah, it's gotten prettier, the layouts are better, designs are better. I think the hobby's got a very bright future, and I don't know where 2024 is going. And I'll pick up a copy of the monster book and look at it.
So, what has been your favorite product to work on so far from Kobold Press?
Oh man, I hate.
I'm not saying your favorite book, but like, what was
your
the
favorite?
which one was the best to work on?
To work on, man. Well, I mean, I always enjoy working on the monster books, but I only just do 20 monsters out of 400, so it's just I'd like to do a few monsters. It's pleasant, but it's not necessarily the absolute top. Labyrinth is definitely one of the best to date because my two co-authors, Celeste Conowitch and Richard Green, are both stunningly great. They really made the Labyrinth setting better, the characters, the subclasses, the magic, the world building. And we had monthly design meetups, sort of, High Council of Elders talk design kind of stuff, or more likely, three nerds get together and poke at each other's turnovers. I don't know, Richard. I don't think you're really getting the infernals right here.
Well, actually,
yes. Well, actually, boss man. You might be the boss, but you have made a grave error in judgment. um, that kind of thing, right? And it was fun giving each other a little shit and back and forth on the design side. It was a really good experience because sometimes with the monster stuff, it's very siloed. You go off, you do your monster, you hand it to the editor, somebody asks you for an art brief, and you're done, right? Like that's the experience. And sitting down every month for most of a year and saying, okay, what have you got? Or do you have any gnarly problems? And maybe we can work it together. And can I connect this thing to your thing? And oh, by the way, don't forget, I promised that you would write this magic item. That kind of trade-off and creative energy is something I've had at certain companies, but I've had more of it at Kobold Press than anywhere else. So yeah, I guess it's my most recent project is my current favorite, but just wait till next time.
Yeah. Are there any plans to make your own Dragon Queen? One of the Hexcrawl supplements mentioned a Hydra Queen, and I'd love to see what that would look like.
Ooh, the Hydra Queen. Yeah. I can't say anything, but what a good idea.
I can neither comment or on speculation.
Yes, on speculation, but sure, it's a good idea. I'm not writing notes or anything. No, we're likely to continue to do interesting monster design.
And
Yeah,
one last question here. Do you plan on a mixture of direct-to-print books along with Kickstarters? So you've got...
Yeah. We have done direct-to-print books, like the Kobold Guide to World Building, or the Kobold Guide to Role Playing, or honestly, the Warlock Grimoires, or the Warlock Layers book, or Prepared. We're going to keep doing those. I think we're currently slated to do 3 Kickstarters a year, but we do about 6 or 7 hardcovers a year. They're not all
Okay, so
big,
it's like
fat ones,
50-50.
so it's 50-50.
All right. Now, we've thrown... I lied. This will be the last question. So we've thrown, to someone brand new to Kobold Press, we've thrown kind of a lot at here
Sure.
between Tales of the Valiant. You got the Kobold Guide to role playing and all that. So if someone's like, okay, where do I start? What would you say? Like I play
Yes.
D&D, I don't know if Tales of the Valiant's the best place to start, or where would you recommend kind of people? This is an idea of what Kobold Press is.
The easiest place to look and see what catches your eye is a page on the koboldpress.com website called Where to Start.
Ah.
and it is literally one of the most popular pages because new people are discovering Kobold Press all the time. And it's sort of broken up into, well, are you a game master? You should start with Tome of Beasts 1, right? Are you a spell slinger? You should start with Deep Magic. Are you looking to start a new campaign? Well, check out Tales of the Valiant, right? Like, there's all those things. But it kind of depends on where you're at. If you're a world builder or a budding game designer, or heck, if you make your own board games, right? A thing called the Kobold Guide to Board Games with advice by Richard Garfield and Bruno Falduti, and I don't even know, right? So we try to have something for everyone, but the Where to Start page is going to take you like 2 minutes to say, oh yeah, that's the thing I want.
I can't believe I missed that. I was trying to find it, but of course my computer's not loading
We've
it.
also got a talesofthevaliant.com site, which is where everybody grabs the free character sheet and a bunch of other stuff, some of the adventure resources. Yeah, we've been around a while. We try to anticipate people's questions, but you know how people are. Everybody's got... Once in a while they catch us out with a new question. But you're going to have to try harder than that. I know where to start.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and talking Kobold and talking Tales of the Valiant. So,
hey, sorry for talking your ear off, but it's what I do.
Hey, that's what the show's here for. That's kind of what we want.
Great. Well, I'll tell everybody about it if it goes up later. And yeah, thanks for having me.
So best place for people to keep updated on the latest and greatest for Kobold Press, just the website, koboldpress.com, or is there a
Yeah,
better
or the
place?
Kobold Press Discord. Kobold Press Discord is actually full of helpful fans, and some of the editors, designers, and artists hang out there too.
Awesome. All right, Philip, I'm going to roll that music.
And that's been our show. We want to thank Wolfgang for coming and putting up with Chris's horrible jokes at the beginning of the show there. If you like what you see, you got to check us out, boardsandswords.com/live. That's got the schedule and the streaming link to where we broadcast ourselves. Boardsandswords.com/Patreon. That's got that's obviously got our Patreon. It's got all of our levels on there with dad jokes of your favorite games, dice. Eventually, we'll do a live play. So check everything out, boardsandswords.com.
All right. Send us feedback if you like this show, if you don't like this show for specific reason. Feedback at boardsandswords.com. Let us know who else we need to get on the show. In fact, next week, we're having Scott Peace from Snapships Tactics. That was an email that's, Beetle sent multiple times. So that I reached out. We got him on the show for next week. So Facebook also at Boards and Swords Pod. I'm on Blue Sky now. That app's great.
Oh, cool.
At Boards and Swords on Blue Sky, or boardsandswords.bsky.social or whatever it is for. But Instagram, same. Like Philip said, all the links are there. Boardsandswords.com. It's got everything. Like I said, like the Patreon. Check it out. Help support the show. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with another show. In the meantime, remember that every game has a story, and this one works for 5e and Tales of the Valiant. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I do feel like I chewed your ear off, but I had a great time.
No, it was great.
Needed, and let me know when this goes live, and or if you want to show me your Patreon link and stuff. I'll throw this in a newsletter to 60,000 people and see what happens.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
that'd be great.
sure.
Yeah, it usually is about like Thursday. I take the audio and just kind of condense it down, clip out stuff.
Yep.
So
Our newsletters are weekly and usually on Wednesdays, sometimes on Thursday. But if it goes out on Wednesday and this link isn't in there, I'll just throw it in next week.
yeah, awesome. That'd be great.
And seriously, if you ever want any advice on getting your adventures out of notes and into PDF or publication, right? Like, my schedule's full, but if you just want some advice, I can point you at a few resources or
Awesome.
help you over a hurdle. So, because people helped me when I was starting, and I'm happy to return the favor.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is getting from the notes to actually getting it down.
I know, that's why it's work, and people have jobs doing it.
Right.
Big office buildings sometimes, or tiny little home offices. But
I definitely
anyway, I had a great time.
Yep. I'm definitely interested in that
Now,
Game Master's Guide, though. I'm curious about that.
There's so much good math in there.
Yeah.
You should check it out. It will simplify your crafting of new items, new monsters, new stuff. Anyway, yeah, I was glad to point people at all that, but I got to run for dinner.
Yep.
And
Right.
All right. Thank you so
Appreciate you.
much.
All right, bye-bye.
Yep.
Bye.
Have a good night.
All right. So I'm going to stop the stream now because we're going to stop. But I will say I know like Huzzer and Rusted Beetle are in the chat. I'm going to try the Patreon stage. So if you go in your Discord, there's the Patreon only streams. So I will see you guys in there. And Philip, you'll have to hang on because like I haven't given you permission, so I'll just basically you'll just drop in there. But this is an experiment. If it goes bad, we'll just record it and we'll jump back in the recording channel, and then you'll just hear about it when it goes live. So, all right, thanks everybody.